When we dare to have deep connection, our brain changes, and that is transformation. So deep connection is the transformational element. So if we don't dare to enter the level of intimacy that the encounter represents, our brain actually does not change. And when it does not change, when these new neural pathways don't form, when there's danger, we are in our old brain, in our reptilian brain, and it says danger, danger, and we defend, and we're in our survival dance. And so the only way for us to get to that relational maturity and intelligence is daring the depth of connection, because that's where the transformation occurs.
Welcome to the MINDTRX Podcast with breakthrough ideas to live your best life possible and how to make it happen. I'm Paul Scheele, and today we will be joined by Hedy Schleifer. Hedy is a master relationship builder, motivational speaker, and founder of Encounter-Centered Transformation. She guides people to experience the most alive and joyful connection with each other on the path to relational intelligence and maturity. Hedy believes that world peace begins with the human family, and it is best achieved through strong, committed, and growing relationships of all kinds. Hedy, welcome to the MINDTRX Podcast. It's such a blessing to see you again and to welcome you here.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Paul. I'm very excited.
Me too. Well, I'm excited about your work. It spans a beautiful lifetime of significant contribution to the world. You had a living laboratory and a beautiful relationship with your husband for 57 years plus. And there was so much transformation and growth that you, as a result, shared with so many people around the planet, many, 40 countries or more, and many languages. I would certainly like to honor all of that and invite our listener to come to an understanding and appreciation of some of the depth of your work. If you could give us a brief description of what encounter-centered transformation is, as you used it not only as a therapist and a couple counselor, but in your work around the world.
Yes. Well, I'd like to start with a distinction between our human essence and our survival patterns. So our human essence is intact no matter what we went through. It is beautiful, radiant, intelligent, creative, funny. Our essence is rich.
And don't we see that in the innocence of our grandchildren and great-grandchildren, right?
Exactly.
It's just this engagement with the world is so lovely and refreshing to see.
Just that gesture you did, the essence is expansive and
It is.
joyful and all of that.
Yeah.
The survival pattern is, the way we've defended against whatever occurred in our journeys. And it's not who we are. And so when I meet a couple, I know there's going to be a survival dance. That is the two survival patterns dancing with each other. And I make a distinction between the survival dance and the dance of life in connection. The dance of life in connection are the two essences encountering one another. And so once I make that distinction with a couple, and the way I make that distinction is I have them have a conversation for 13 minutes of the toughest subject of their relationship journey. 13, because in Hebrew, every letter has a numerical value, and 13 is ahava, love, echad, one. So if you're going to have a tough conversation in the old way, you might as well have it in the name of love and oneness.
Oh, that's gorgeous. But you're really taking them to the edge of the pool and pushing them in the deep end right
That's
away.
exactly right.
That's tough. That's tough.
So they face each other and they have
Mm.
this conversation. The one, the one that always just gets worse and worse. And when 13 minutes are up, I go, stop. And I tell them, I'm going to go, stop. And you stop in the middle of a word, even if this time you're winning, you stop. And then I call their attention and I say to them, imagine you were in a restaurant and this couple that you just observed, for 13 minutes, that couple was at a table next to you. And the two of you were looking at them, observing them the way we people watch, always. But somebody whispered in your ear, this couple comes from another planet. The planet is called Wygelia. Therefore, they speak Wygelian. You haven't understood a word they were saying. What did you see? And then you can only focus on facial expression, tone of voice, body language, hands, eye contact, all the ways that we communicate that aren't verbal. And they describe. So the woman seems to be pushing and pushing, and she's got tears in her eyes, and the man seems to be constricting, and he's like behind the wall, and there's like a little hole. He's looking at the woman, and he can't stand it, and she is getting more. They describe the pattern, the survival pattern they've lived with for years and never got to observe as an observer.
Right, because we're always so attached not only to our own story, but also to communicating what we think the other person needs to do to make my life work. And so we're in it.
Yeah.
It's like the distinction for a business person working in your business or working on your business. How do we get some space in order to observe our own behaviors engaging? So that's lovely.
Exactly, on rather than in.
Right.
So once they've described the Wygelian couple, I read it back to them because it becomes funny. And when it's funny, we stop the description because the moment like one person will say, that couple needs therapy, something, it gets to be so funny as the observer.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to say that the importance of having a recognition of the nonverbal is so critical because, as you know, have studied in a communication, only 7% of the communication is actually the words we use.
Exactly.
And so to be aware of the other 93%, which most people are quite unconscious about, is a
Exactly.
place of gold. It's a place of tremendous resource and choice.
Exactly. And so here they have described the 93%. And one couple went home and said to their children, listen, every once in a while, your mom and dad disappear and they become extraterrestrials called Wygelians. And we would like you to make a drawing of extraterrestrials. And the kids made a drawing. The parents put it on the fridge and they said to the kids, anytime you see us become those Wygelians, you can take us to the fridge and tell us, you are those Wygelians right now. Knock it off. And we will. We will become your mother and father again.
Beautiful. So they immediately have allies.
Exactly. Who could help them recognize we're in the survival dance.
Mm.
We're in the survival dance. We're not their father and mother anymore because we're fighting. And, we've got a conflict and we're stepping into it and we're doing it in that survival way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll say to them, here is the guiding principle. The survival dance will always disconnect you, period. When you step into it, you will feel increasingly disconnected. What connects you? Well, what connects you are three invisible connectors.
Mm.
That's when I teach that idea of Number one connector, the relational space. The way Martin Buber described it, our relationship lives in the space between us, and that space is sacred. And so the first principle there is, how do we sanctify together the space between us, which we are each 100% responsible for.
I love that, because so often couples think, well, our relationship is 50-50. So I'm only responsible for my half of it. No, I said, we're both responsible for 100% of the communication.
Exactly.
These three connectors, I know we're going to describe each one of them. This first idea of the space between us has been described by a number of different researchers in a number of different ways. It's not me, it's not you, and it's not even me and you. It's a third space. It's a space that encompasses that and so much more. And if we have me and we have you and we have the us, that is this thing we usually describe when we talk about a relationship, that us is actually being expressed in this sacred space, which is the space between us. And as another colleague of mine said, what's important is not what's between our ears, it's what's between our noses. So when we can be present to whatever that is, that's this important sacred space.
Yes, indeed. And so the 100% responsibility is a really important thing to assume. I'm assuming 100% responsibility to sanctify the space, to make sure it's rich, to make sure it's full. And you will do your 100%, but first I do my 100%.
Good. And, I remember my wife and I were just starting dating at the University of Minnesota, and we were in the same dormitory. And the janitor, when we got to talking with him one night, said, everybody thinks it's 50-50 in a relationship. And that's, with my wife and me, it's strictly 40-80. But that also got us to thinking, well, yeah, 40-80, there's more than 100% here. Maybe we ought to be looking at each of us at 100%.
Exactly.
Now, there is one challenge in that, is I don't know how I can speak to your not being accountable to your 100%. In fact, I think it's almost a non-starter to say, hey, you're not taking responsibility for your 100%. What is your thoughts about that?
Right, because the moment you go, hey, you are not responsible for your 100%, you've polluted the space.
Yes, the pollution. That's great.
You have polluted the space.
It's no longer sacred. It's obligatory.
Right.
Yes. Very good. Good. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So the second invisible connector is a bridge. And the reason there's a bridge is because each of us is a rich world, completely different from each other. We're unique, each one a unique creation. And in order for me to know you, I would have to leave my world, what I know, what I presume, the neighborhoods where I live, and actually leave the shores of my world to land in yours, to get to know you as an other, as a true other. And so what I teach couples is the art of hosting. How do I take you into my world? And the art of visiting. How do I leave my world and come to be with you and get to know you? Because our languages are different. You speak Polish and I speak Yiddish, different languages. The culture is different, the rhythm is different, the music is different. And for me to know you, I need to leave Haiti world and all the neighborhoods, even the neighborhood called Paul Scheele, meaning even what I imagine about you that lives in my world, I need to leave that.
All the assumptions, yeah, all the preconceived ideas. I love that. I have often used a shorthand for that. I said, if we're going to go into somebody else's world, it's a good idea to wipe your feet before you do. And or in the Japanese culture, we leave our shoes outside because inside this is a space that we inhabit in a different way than the outer world. So, yeah, all of that to me makes so much sense. I also love the idea of how do I free myself of preconceived ideas? What stories am I bringing here that might not serve? And just be present and sensing whatever emerges when I get there. I remember Haiti, when I was traveling to London, and Libby was going with me. I'd been there a couple of times, but this was her first trip. And I knew we were going to get picked up, and I knew that I was going to have newspaper reporters and a television interview and a radio show and all this stuff. And Libby kept asking me, well, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And I had to say, the one thing I know is that whatever happens is going to happen. That I can't predict, and I certainly am not going to be able to control. And we just have to be present to whatever shows up at the time that it happens. And so there was this letting go of a need to do it right. And so often as adults, don't we think we got to get it right the first time? But can we enter that beginner's mind free of
Right.
baggage, free of preconceived ideas, association, memories, and just be truly present? It's a powerful step.
Exactly. That's really what it is. It be truly present. And I don't know, do you know Otto Scharmer?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So
Presencing.
exactly. He calls it presencing as opposed to absencing. And what
Mhm.
you bring over the bridge is that kind of presencing. And he,
Now, I would like to add, if I could, Haiti, for those who don't know, Otto Scharmer's book, Theory U, is the best description of this. And the idea is to approach the present moment with an open mind, an open heart, and open will. And then we have this open connection to a bigger source where we can let go and let come. And it's in that holding space right there that so much of the future that's going to emerge starts to emerge right there.
exactly. See, so in the art of hosting and the art of visiting, the emergent future begins to show itself.
Yes,
And
yes.
so that's the second invisible connector. The
So this bridge, and I like the image of the bridge, and I understand that you and your husband were in a film that talks about this bridge as well.
right, right. It's a documentary about our life. It's called Hedy and Yumi Crossing the Bridge. It is our life and the way what I'm talking to you about today emerged and slowly was born. And yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. So the bridge is a powerful metaphor. It's a powerful image. And I would like to say in my dream world, Haiti, very often I will be at the University of Minnesota, which was an important transformational time for me. And the campuses of the Minneapolis campus are on both sides of the Mississippi River.
Oh,
Very much like France, Paris, there's the East Bank and the West Bank. And there is a bridge that connects them. And whenever I'm going through a significant transformational time in my life, I'm right there on that bridge. And sometimes the bridge is crumbly and the chasm is horrifying. And, there's just a couple of ropes to hang on to. And sometimes it's really strong and really clear and really easy to navigate. And stepping on that bridge is the willingness to leave my world behind as I have come to know it and to explore what is the greater that is attempting to emerge in my life. So I appreciate this metaphor in more ways than I can even describe.
Yes, exactly. And as you say this, when you cross the bridge and you really bring your full presencing, you will come back to your world a transformed person.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not transformed, you have not visited.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you leave the shores of your world and really step in to know the other, it will change you.
Yes.
Courage to say, I am open to that transformation because I'm giving you my full presence to know you.
Well, when I met Libby for the first time and really encountered her, I had seen her and we'd actually gone out with a group, but we didn't really have a relationship. And the one night that we really connected, she gave me quite a passionate kiss. And that night, I had a dream that I was in the basement of uh, quite an old home. I grew up in Mount Vernon, New York, and some of these homes were quite old and they're set on a foundation of a lot of rock and all of that. And I was down in the basement, my psychological basement, right? And there was a door, and coming out from underneath that door and all around the door jamb was this intense light bursting all around the door. It's kind of like a Steven Spielberg movie, where there's an alien on the other side of the door and there's all this light. And I realized that behind that door, whatever it was that was there would kill me. And I realized it was Libby behind that door and it was her love. And did I have the courage to go through that door? And I opened the door and I entered. And then I woke up and I realized that my life, if I chose to enter into this relationship, would be forever transformed. My life would not be, could not be whatever I had experienced up until then. And when I told her that dream the next day, she said, "So I'm the stuff of a horror movie?" I said, "Or your love is so intense that I recognize it at the very depth of my soul."
Wow.
Yeah. Crossing that bridge.
You touch me deeply with that story. Wow.
Mm.
Wow. Third invisible connector.
Third connector.
What you just talked about, it's the encounter. And again, it is described by Martin Buber, who had it with his wife. So he describes the encounter of the souls, and it's that magical time. You and I can experience it right now, where you feel like you are so with another that everything shifts. It's that light, that you really experience and dare to step in together. And so the encounter is something we have in nature. We'll walk in nature and suddenly we are in the encounter zone and the colors are brighter and the shapes are richer and the smells are stronger. We just feel nature and creation to the fullest. That's the encounter. Or with a piece of music,
Yes.
hear a piece of music we know, but suddenly we're in the space of the encounter and the music is more beautiful than ever. We've got tears in our eyes. We're in the encounter with music. And of course, we can have it with another human.
it's that sense of awe. And there's so much interesting new research about the power of awe. And there's a book all about this as well. And I remember, Hedy, when my first child was being gestated, he hadn't been born yet. I noticed that when I would get in the space of my wife, contemplating this growing being inside of her, there was something that was shifting in me. I would live for the future, and suddenly I noticed that I was living in the present. And when he was born and he came into the world, and I went on a walk with him, every blade of grass was absolutely mystical and magical because he was only present. He had no idea of a future or a past. He was only present, but I had not experienced that. And I was drawn into that encountered space.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and that's the awe or the radical amazement
yes.
that we then are with one another. And uh, and so the way these three invisible connectors are connected is that if I take 100% responsibility for the space, and you take 100% responsibility for the space, and we both live in that sacred space, and we cross the bridge to each other to know each other's otherness more and more and more with radical amazement at, whoa, that is you. I'm getting to know you. We create the condition for the encounter. And so that's how they are connected in honoring the space and crossing the bridge. We create the conditions for that encounter to occur. And what I discovered with my beloved Yumi is that if we are committed to create encounter after encounter after encounter, something magical occurs, which occurred and we didn't know about it, is that we suddenly transcended to a new level that we call the zone of the encounter. We lived in it. There was no conflict. Conflict was gone. We lived, and that was a complete surprise. And we both didn't even realize for a while, and then said to each other, there's a whole new atmosphere, a whole new flow that is in our relationship. And we were just so grateful to each other. And I remember one day we were in an Uber, and the Uber driver says, "You guys aren't married, are you? I mean, you're not married." And Yumi said, "No, no, we just met 50 years ago." But he couldn't imagine that a married couple could have that kind of flow between each other and create that kind of atmosphere in his car. But that's
Yeah.
something we then discovered from having an encounter after an encounter after an encounter.
Gorgeous. And there is, you've brought into your work an understanding of this relational neurobiology that we have actually built in to our neurobiology mirror neurons that allow this kind of deep empathetic space to emerge. And researchers that started in that research said this is for sure the basis of intuition, certainly communication, and most likely all culture was based on this neurobiology that we all possess. But if you could say a little bit more about the neurobiology of the encounter zone and what what is it that causes that to switch off? Like you've heard the phrase, Hedy, that familiarity breeds contempt. And there is this polluted, toxic space between people. What's the difference that makes the difference here?
Yeah, well, that's like a really important question in terms of our world and in terms of
Right.
this time in our history.
Mm-hmm.
The importance of course, the bridge and holding the space as sacred. So I'd like to start with the research in relational neurobiology that has shown that the plasticity of our brain continues forever, and that what causes new neural pathways to form in the brain is deep connection. So when we dare to have deep connection, our brain changes, and that is transformation. So deep connection is the transformational element. So if we don't dare to enter the level of intimacy that the encounter represents, our brain actually does not change. And when it does not change, when these new neural pathways don't form, when there's danger, we are in our old brain, in our reptilian brain, and it says danger, danger, and we defend, and we're in our survival dance. And so the only way out of that is new neural pathways that allow for blood flow to go from that old brain to the frontal lobes, where slowly but surely we are more and more relationally intelligent and more relationally mature. And so the only way for us to get to that relational maturity and intelligence is daring the depth of connection that you and I are talking about today, because that's where the transformation occurs.
I love that. And what I notice is even though I have some good friends, I'm going to be meeting with them next week, in fact, and spending a week together fishing in Florida. I also know that in spite of our great shared history and our willingness to be very present to each other through our lives, that there may be some topics that they don't want to open up, that I might be more interested in talking about than them. Does this preclude the opportunity for new neural growth if somebody says, no, this is a taboo subject, I don't want to go there?
This is so important. I mean, clearly in our history right now, so important. I like the metaphor of neighborhoods. So our world, we've got a big world, it's filled with neighborhoods. And for example, you opened up the neighborhood of your grandson. No, it was of your son, the neighborhood of the birth of your son. And it's just gorgeous to step in there and watch your face and the expression. And that neighborhood is a precious neighborhood. We have a variety of neighborhoods. And in order for there to be this transformation, we need to have the courage to open all neighborhoods that are in our world. Some people will say that neighborhood is closed off. I do not open that neighborhood. I certainly don't let you into that neighborhood. And so it prevents this kind of neurological transformation that is
The deep encounter, the deep connection.
exactly
Yeah.
right. Clearly, we have the right to say off limits for certain neighborhoods, but it's also good to know that the more we open up every neighborhood of our world, the more our brain, with its incredibly magical and miraculous plasticity, will continue to change and make us more relational.
Well, this brings up a couple of ideas for me. Certainly, when couples meet, my wife and I, with our long history together, they say, oh, what's the secret of your success? Libby says, I can tell Paul anything, and I don't have to withhold anything. I can tell the truth. And you can see the face of some of these people. Oh, I could never tell my spouse certain things, but because we can, we're so able to be so much more present. And that, of course, then is the starting point for all growth and development, not only within ourselves, which we have referred to here, but also in that space between us that is us.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly. And the willingness and the capacity to open all neighborhoods also creates something I like to call neighborhoods under construction, meaning there are new neighborhoods that form in our world that enrich who we are. And so the willingness to open all neighborhoods really enriches our world profoundly.
Yes. And that's that enriched human family where we recognize that we are sharing this somewhat limited resource together, and it's important to understand each other very well. And the deep connection is going to be essential for that to occur, which brings up some of your work in the area of conflict dissolution. Um, I would love to hear more about relational maturity and conflict dissolution. And I've, before encountering your work, I was familiar with Daniel Goleman's work on emotional intelligence. And that became super iconic, I think, in business and, in communities, emotional intelligence. And I can tell when someone isn't very emotionally intelligent, right? They're awkward and they don't connect very well and they don't have a way of coming to a shared space, etc. What is the best path to relational maturity and therefore the capacity to dissolve conflict more
Right,
effectively?
right. Yeah. So it's nice that you bring in emotional intelligence because relational intelligence is a very different kind of intelligence. It's
Okay.
being intelligent not about relationships, but in relationship. That's relational intelligence. And relational maturity is when you grow that intelligence so that in relationship, you are more and more intelligent in the relationship, in the moments of crises, in the moments of conflict. And what I love to think about in conflict is really, you mentioned it, is Otto Scharmer's you. Because if we have a conflict, what we would love is to jump from one side of the U where the conflict exists to the other side of the U where the solution exists. And we want to do that jump right away because the conflict is so difficult to manage. And so, what's so beautiful about this theory U is that we're being told in order for you to really be on the other side of the U, you need to, in connection, go down the U. And going down the U means to look deeper and more openly at what is underneath that conflict for me. What are the emotions? What are the difficulties? What is the background? And to dare to go to the bottom of the U. The bottom of the U is something that is so painful and so difficult and so conflictual for me that I've never actually fully expressed it. That's the bottom of the U. It's never come out of my mouth. Really, that truth is in the darkness. So the bottom of the U is the dark place I've never opened up to myself. Certainly not in connection, but even to myself. Now, what is really miraculous is the moment we dare to enter the bottom of the U, the darkness, there is an embedded gift there that has been there all along, but we've never seen it because we've never gone to the bottom of the U. Once that embedded gift shows up, we're beginning to hear the emergent future calling. And then we can walk up the U. On the other side of the U, the conflict has dissolved. It has not resolved, it has dissolved. And so with couples, once they know how to be present to each other, I introduce the neighborhood of challenge. Whatever the conflict is, they'll go down to you, find the embedded gift, and come up to you on the other side.
And this is a deep psychological archetype, also known as the hero's journey. And, the Cinderella story, the girl in the ashes, the cinder biter, doing the dark night of the soul. And it doesn't have to sound so spooky, because it can actually be more revelatory than flogging oneself to death to get there. It's a beautiful recognition that in order for a transformation to take place, we do have to recognize that on the other side of the transformation, the present isn't what it used to be. In the research that I did on researching the critical incident of transformation, I knew there was a starting point, there was a history. I knew that there was an end point where things would change. And I thought that there would be this event that was the transformational event, and that people would often say, I was changed by that encounter. But it turned out that that wasn't quite all the story. That once the transformational event occurred, then a person had to reconcile within themselves. Am I going to go forward change, or am I going to try to hang on to the way things were in the past? And so there's a lot of critical reflection about some of my assumptions, some of my operating principles. So the transformation requires quite a lot of introspection to say, yes, I will go forward transformed. And that's when the gift, or in the ancient term, the boon, is received. Now I get to either keep it for myself or I get to share it with the world. And of course, in your work, in my work, we want to share it with the world. We want to help others, to be able to guide others through this very same process.
Indeed. And it's interesting what you just described, because at the place where the embedded gift shows up, and the future begins to call, there is sometimes a tendency to want to go back to the bottom of the a pull back. And the choice then has to be, do I go backwards, or do I listen to the emergent future and allow myself to let the future call me and go up the U as I listen to the new messages that are there for me?
Yes, beautiful. And this might be the perfect time, and kind of to wrap up what we're doing, is to talk about what you describe as the 4 levels of learning. Because as we finish up today, anyone listening has the opportunity to say, how do I go forward from here? And, we move through childhood, and we move through adulthood, and we're in elderhood, you and I, and we're in the space where our great hope for humanity is that they understand that they are self-transforming beings, and in relationship with deep connections, we facilitate that deeper work. So if you could tell us about those 4 levels of learnings, and then a benediction, and we're complete for today.
It went by like 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
Yeah. So I don't know whose theory it is, but here it is. There's level 0. So we've been to the lecture, or we've read the book, and it's very interesting, and we're taking it in, and we understand it. But somebody says, what have you learned? And we go, I don't know. I don't know what I've learned here. And we've all had, level 0 learning with certain experiences. Level 1, I listen very carefully. I take it in. I take notes. And I come home with it. I get it, but I don't know how to integrate it into my life. So nothing changes. I can tell you what I learned, but I haven't integrated it in a way that my life really changes. Level 2, I listen, I really take it in. And when I come home, I apply some of the principles I've learned. And so things change because I'm really applying some new knowledge to my regular life.
And we don't even have to do that very well.
Correct.
Right? We could do it in a way that's a little clunky, but we're taking an honest intention to apply it. I think that's really a key piece. Yeah.
That's very important. Exactly. I mean, so level 3 isn't change, it's transformation. There's a before, there's an after. I don't even fully understand how come I'm a new person, but I feel like what I've taken in and how I've taken it in, I'm in a very new universe of my own life. And that is really the purpose of everything that I do with a couple, is for them to actually have a before and an after, really have that transformational experience that says, I am a new person, I'm in a new place in my life. And that's
gorgeous. And of course, that's what we would hope, that our teachings, this podcast, our time together would help carry someone to that next fuller expression of who they are. And certainly in relation to others, to be open to the space, to be able to cross a bridge, to have the deep encounter, and to grow in who we are and who we are meant to be as a human family. So, Hedy, if you have a final word for us, a good word, a bon mot, a benediction.
I am praying that our world, our beautiful, vulnerable planet, will actually become a laboratory where enough people cross the bridge to each other and sanctify the space, that our planet will be a planet of sacred space. We will all recognize that we are choosing to 100% take responsibility for the quality of the space.
Nice, beautiful. Hedy, thanks so much for this time together. It was a real gift and a pleasure to be with you, sweetheart.
Thank you so much.
Bye for now.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Hedy Schleifer. You can learn more about Hedy at hedyschleifer.com. And now in the second part of the podcast, it's just you and me. I'll tell you how to use the Paraliminal sessions in the MINDTRX app to easily handle obstacles and move toward the success you want, especially as it relates to Hedy's message. If you're new to the relaxing Paraliminal audio sessions, they use breakthrough technologies to activate your whole mind in only 20 minutes to help improve any area of your life. Let's get going. Hello and welcome to this follow-on to my conversation with Hedy Schleifer. Hedy is a remarkable individual with a long history of helping couples and really exploring what it means to be in relation with another, to be able to grow in our relational intelligence and our relational maturity. And there are a number of paraliminals that I think could really help any of us to be able to get to some of those high level experiences that she holds out for us. I adored my time with her. I had so much that I loved relating to her. And there, at the core of the message that she had is what she referred to as the three invisible connectors. So certainly I'd like to start there in terms of what paraliminals may be able to assist in growing in our capacity for each of these three invisible connectors, and then also some additional paraliminals to help in our relational growth and maturity. So the four areas are: number one, finding that sacred space between us. Number two is walking the bridge into another person's world. The third is the transformational encounter, that deep connection itself. And the fourth is growing in relational maturity and intelligence. So let's start out with this first idea, the idea of finding the sacred space between us. Hopefully you got this idea that this really is a special zone, and to be able to recognize it and hold it as a sacred space that is the place of ultimately of the encounter that we're going to have with another. This is a powerful place to be able to recognize and to develop within ourselves. So the first paraliminal I would recommend is finding treasure. I use the story of being with my first baby, Ben, and just a blade of grass as being such an important experience. It's this sense of awe. And finding treasure helps us find those moments of awe that we can expand and grow into. The idea behind finding treasure is that there are profound resources all around us, but we tend not to see them because we are moving into our world with such a habitual mindset, seeing the same things over and over. And here we're taking the blinders off to be able to recognize so much of the richness of the world that's here for us at any moment in time. The second invisible connector, as Hedy likes to refer to it, is walking the bridge into another person's world. So top of the list for this is positive relationships. And this paraliminal really is the one go-to when we're finding ourselves in conflict with another, or we want to grow in our ability to attract to us very supportive relationships, or relationships, even in an intimate relationship we might now have, but growing our ability to be in it and free to expand our experience of it. So the positive relationships paraliminal has two sessions to it. The first session is dealing with interpersonal conflict, problem solving, basically. And that one will be very helpful to get us started if you're coming into an encounter with another where there's some emotional baggage or conflicting energy that's there. The second session of positive relationships is about attracting to us at a soul level those relationships that are going to help us grow in the fullest expression of who we are. And the positive relations paraliminal is one that is going to allow you to think about who you are as an energetic presence in an encounter with another. So when we find someone that we are highly resonant with, that resonance is, as Hedy describes it, at a soul level. Positive relationships, session B, is really experiencing that in a much fuller way and attracting more of that to us. The third aspect, or the invisible connector that she refers to, is the transformational encounter. It's this deep encounter with another person. And I find that there are two paraliminals that can really help with this. The first one is called Self-Actualization. Now, self-actualization is a higher level of growth in human development than the establishment of self-esteem. So it naturally follows along with the self-esteem supercharger. But even more than self-actualize, living more peak experiences on an ongoing basis is this notion of I am here expressing a self-transcendence. So I'm actually growing beyond myself, beyond my own history, into a greater yet to be. And the self-actualization paraliminal really puts us there and amplifies your capacity to be able to live as a self-actualized individual. Very cool. It's one of the more recent ones, paraliminals I've developed, and one I really enjoy. The second paraliminal in this area of that transformational encounter is gratitude. And this is about appreciating what is right now, just really recognizing what it is you're truly grateful for. And when you do appreciate something, what you appreciate appreciates. So you're going to actually be self-reinforcing of more of the good things that come from a deep encounter with another individual. So self-actualization and gratitude are here to support you in that transformational moment, the encounter where you really are developing a new neurological set of pathways to the fuller expression of your life. And that leads us to growing in our relational intelligence and our relational maturity. I would say there are paraliminals that can help here. The first one, joy. And I really love joy from the standpoint that this is the energy of the heart and this expression of your true passion in life, living more joyously each day, is to encounter the world in a beautiful way each day. And I take you through something I call the Joy Spring Protocol to help just center where you are at any moment in time, to expand your world and see that there are more choices and options available to you than you might have thought. Similar in a way to finding treasure, but joy is focused around what your intention is, what your passion is for the life you want to live. The second paraliminal is personal genius. Personal genius is like the self-esteem supercharger for someone who's learning and growing. A big emphasis of Hedy's work is this idea that we can grow and express and grow our brain and our maturity and our intelligence absolutely all throughout our lives. Personal genius will help you do that. So think about what it is you're interested in growing into, the positive relationships that you want to create, and this paraliminal is going to help tremendously. So enjoy this. Joy, personal genius, these are going to help you grow in your relational intelligence and maturity, and have a wonderful time doing it. I had a wonderful time in my interview with Hedy, and I hope that you enjoy it as much as I did. Thanks for being here. Peace and blessings until we get to be together again. Thank you for joining me today. I applaud your willingness to maximize your potential. You can easily use the paraliminal audio sessions in the MINDTRX app to stimulate your non-conscious mind, that is your inner mind, to reduce any resistance in your life and to propel you toward the success you want. Go to www.mindtrx.com/go. That's www.mindtrx.com/go. These amazing audio tools have helped millions, and I encourage you to bring them into your world today. Be sure to be back for more episodes of the MINDTRX Podcast. You'll find insightful conversations with authors, experts, and thought leaders, all devoted to improving your life's experience. Thank you again for being here on our MINDTRX podcast.